In this video, we're going to discuss advanced switch configuration. Now, you've seen in our previous videos where we've discussed the initial switch configuration that we ended up with a good basic running configuration. However, like anything to do with networking or computers in general, that basic configuration doesn't serve all of our needs until it's fully customized. And we won't go into all of the various configuration options necessary to get the switch up and running, but we will touch on some of the advanced monitoring commands and advanced configuration commands that you might use on your Cisco switch. Now, we are connected to our 2960 lab switch that we've been working with throughout the course of the video here. And you'll notice that we're in enable mode, or privileged exec mode, as it's actually technically known. So obviously some of the commands we've looked at before are under the show commands. And since we are in exec mode, in privileged exec mode I should say, we have many more commands available to us than we did in user exec mode. The one that most everyone will use first off is show run, to show the running configuration. And if you've just gone through the initial configuration video, then this configuration is exactly what that configuration wizard came up with. It's not been changed. I've not done anything in the background to make this work better or worse. It is what it is here. So if you're looking at a switch and you've verified the running configuration, then one of the other things you can do is do a show ver to show the version of the software that's running on the switch. In this case, it is C2960 LAN Lite version 12.2.50. It tells you how long the switch has been up. It's been up for just over a day, just over 24 hours. It tells you what the system image file is. In this case, it booted off the flash, and there's the image name that it booted off of. You then get further down in the version and it tells you that this is a 48-port switch with 64K of memory. It's got one VLAN interface. Because this is a layer 2 switch, we can have multiple virtual Ethernet interfaces or VLAN interfaces, but only one can be active at any given time. It tells us we have 48 fast Ethernet interfaces, 4 gigabit Ethernet interfaces. Gives us the MAC address, the serial numbers, and if this switch was a stackable switch like a 3750, it would actually tell us how many switches are in the stack, their model numbers, the software versions, and the software images for each of the switches in the stack. So now that we've shown you two of the basic show commands that you'll use on nearly every device you connect to, let's actually start configuring some of the settings on the switch. Now, a lot of these settings were configured using the initial setup wizard, but we're actually going to go change some of those commands, just so you can see what it's like to do some of the more advanced configuration options. We will also set a login banner to kind of warn off people from trying to hack into our super secure switch here with its super secure passwords. So the first thing we'll do is we'll enter configuration mode. In this case, we'll do configure. And we have several options. We can configure from network or terminal, or we can replace the running config, or so on and so forth. In this case, we're going to config from the terminal. We only have to enter the T because it's the only option for configuration that begins with a T. So now we're in configuration mode. So the first thing we'll do is we'll change out our telnet password. If you'll recall from our initial configuration, we have the extremely secure telnet password of password. So let's go in and change that. Now you'll notice that these are the VTY lines. These are the virtual telnet lines. We have 0 through 4 and 5 through 15. And the reason they're broken out this way is that older iOS versions only supported 5 telnet connections at a time. Later versions support up to 16 simultaneous telnet connections. Why you'd need 16 people telnetted into a switch at any given time, I have no idea, but I suppose that the need was there, or else Cisco would not have put the option into the iOS. So the reason it's broken out like this, and it's broken out like this by the iOS, you'll notice that we are not going to enter the 2 sections, it'll break it out for us. It's so that if you were to copy this configuration and paste it into another switch that did not support the extended VTY lines, then your first 5 would be set properly, and you would just get an error when you put in line VTY 515. It would come back and say, hey, that's not a valid VTY line. So let's go back down here to our configuration, and we will do line VTY 015. So we're going to configure the login and password for all 16 VTY lines. Now, in theory, you could configure a different password for each of the 16 VTY lines individually, but why would you want to do that? Because you don't really ever know which one you're going to connect to. So now we're configuring the line. If we hit question mark on here, we see we have all kinds of options for configuring these VTY lines. Now the one we're interested in down here is the password. We're going to set a password for all 16 VTY lines. We'll pick that up in the next video.